Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Married to Shade. I am your host, Fiq Blurman, and with me as always is my lovely wife, AJ.
Hey, y'all.
And I am well prepared right now because I am looking at...
For the first time.
As usual, is I think what my wife meant to say.
No.
You're interrupting. You're interrupting.
You're never prepared.
I'm prepared to read off our list of Patreon patrons as a thank you from us, Married to Shade podcast, representing the Black Astronauts podcast. And that is because the Black Astronauts podcast is a network of podcasts where we bring to you a variety of different shows with different focuses. Me and my wife, we do a little bit of social commentary, but with a married couple, sometimes overly analytical, sometimes incorrect slant on things. We have the main show where we do similar stuff, but with a wider variety of guests. We have the HWAP, who cover a lot of things that are more oriented toward black women. We have the Room podcast, so we cover movies and video games and comics. We have the political podcast from Teddy D, which is kind of self-explanatory. We're doing a lot of things, and all these things are possible because we have fans that are supporting the show, making it so we can keep our website running, making it so we can provide merchandise, so that we can get logos designed, making it so me and my wife can sit here and record with a mixer instead of just both recording on Skype, on computers via Skype in different parts of the house, which is what we were doing once upon a time.
Ooh, it was so struggle.
Yes, struggle.
So struggle. Thank y'all.
So thank y'all so much, and to thank you, I want to make sure I shout out the following people. Shadrach C, Blackashawn, Nutella is Life, Sadita H, Justin C from I Do It for Hip Hop podcast, DeAndre, Veggie Vixen, Ronald B, V Williams, Feeks Beard, Peter H, Pasto Chene, excuse me, very sorry, Felt 5, Deloya, Shlonda W, Wonga, Cameron B, Mr. Brent, Simo, Ashley G, Chonilla, Knowledge, Dre, The Disrespectful One MJ, Donald, Ophelia Ono, Teddy Funk, Charlie Snowflake, Angela D, My Fluffy Puffs, DJ Food and Drink, Four Washed Folks, Ariana, Nikki M, Devo G, Willis Dickfit, Shauna E, Jordan H, Pam M, and Scrum Master Flash. So thank all of you so much for your support. Without you, this is impossible. And with that said, baby, how was your day?
My day was interesting. It was interesting. So, if you've been listening for a while, you know
this is our first show in like a month.
It has it. Okay, so
even though we've been on a couple other things,
so the fact that I'm grinding and trying to figure out this entrepreneurial life,
right,
is still what's going on. Right? That hasn't changed. That's been consistent.
Indeed.
The new struggle is I have clients, y'all, but when to assimilate and work as a part of my client's brand and their machine, and when to separate myself for marketing purposes and stand as my own brand. Right. Does that make sense? Did I say that right?
Yeah, I think you said that perfectly.
Okay. So that's the struggle. So I found myself lately in some pretty good rooms with some valuable, people, some decision makers in my space, and I've struggled to identify myself. And I don't know what that means. I'm trying to unpack that,
You're kind of a punk.
Maybe it means that. I think it does mean that for some reason, even though I am coming into those rooms because of my business know-how, my business mind, that I'm somehow lacking confidence in it. Mm-hmm. And so I feel more comfortable kind of hiding behind my client, which is kind of crazy.
You need to nut up a little bit, basically.
Yeah. Something needs to happen. So that is my struggle. So that kind of was what happened today. I was in another room and I just didn't feel good about my performance.
Well, I'm sure it wasn't as bad as you feel. I'm pretty confident in that. But I do know that I often have to remind you of how great you are. And, maybe I didn't do the best job of that this morning before you ran off to conquer the world. But we will make sure we remember it next time. I'm sure it wasn't as bad as you're making it out to be, because you tend to exaggerate because you're dramatic.
No. That's not fair. No, I mean, I don't know if it was as bad as I felt, right? Because I have the whole anxiety thing going on. So thoughts tend to linger for longer than they do with the average person. But it's just something I still have to figure out. But how was your day, babe?
My day was cool. My days have all been relatively blissful in this new workspace. I've completed, I guess it's been a while. I think last time, I don't know if I had finished my thesis proposal or had it accepted, I should say, since the last show. So there's that. Started working on my thesis in earnest. I'm hitting a nice spot at work in that the major, I guess, at least it seems like in my job, you come through and it's like, all right, do this. And I did that for the most part. I'm done with some projects and I'm kind of in a space where I don't have as much going on. So I'm appreciating that and I'm feeling good about what I did. I can't remember ever feeling like this as an adult. Ever since I've been an adult with a job, I've felt angst. I felt angst about, am I doing a good job or a good enough job? Or how can I get to where I really want to go professionally? And to be in that space, even though it's only been for a while, has been really therapeutic for me. So, today was
shows.
just...
You wear it well.
Do I?
Yeah.
This is really a compliment shows. On the show? This is on record.
That's good.
Okay.
So you have one.
I got
congratulations.
One. Yes.
But it really shows, and I appreciate it, especially being in a spot of angst, right? Mm-hmm. It's nice to know that you're good.
Well,
it's nice to know that you're good. So I appreciate it. I'm very happy for you in this current position. And I don't know if I say that enough, but I am.
Well, thank you, babe. Thank you. But that's pretty much it. So I think we want to just jump on in. We're going to hit some of the greatest hits of the last 2 weeks because we ain't had a show in about a month. We at least won't talk about Infinity War. We'll skip that.
No, no
Infinity
movie
War.
Reviews, no show reviews.
No, we got one show to talk about. We do have one show to talk about.
Oh,
and it's directly related
to
our first topic, which is Childish Gambino.
Is that who he is now?
Or Donald,
I think he's Donald Glover now.
No, I think this was technically a Childish Gambino like song.
Okay.
And just kind of our response to it. I also want to mention the colonized version that came out a day or two ago.
I didn't watch that.
I didn't watch it either.
I think I am big because of everything that's going on with me personally, with protecting my energy, and just not indulging in a whole bunch of garbage.
Right.
And I looked at the still from that, and I said, nah. I don't want that in my spirit. I don't even I don't have time for that. So I didn't see that. So I can't participate in that discussion.
No, I didn't watch it.
I didn't watch it.
But the discussion I want to have is how I believe, I won't say it's the right way, how I believe or how I choose to respond to that type of fuckery, which is to ignore it. We're not going to mention this person's name. We're not going to go too deep into the video because we didn't watch it.
Yeah, we're not going to go into it at all. But what we will go into is the first video. We haven't even said the name.
I guess we haven't said the name. So
you're doing this grand,
with this grand opening for some shit that everybody else has already talked about like a week ago.
This is America.
So we're talking about the This is America
so this
video.
So let's get into it. So what were your thoughts about the video? I remember when you showed me the video. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to see if you're going to keep that same energy and say that you literally missed everything.
So what I came to realize was not that I missed everything, was that it wasn't as deep as I thought it was supposed to be. That's what really happened there.
Really?
Yeah.
Explain that.
So I am the oldest Childish Gambino fan. Not the oldest, but I'm a day one fan.
You're about to do the Joe Budden.
I'm about to Joe Budden a little bit. I'm about to Joe Budden a little bit.
As long as you know who you are right now.
So, people don't know this. First off, you can find out more about this on my most recent blog on Black Ashness Podcast, coming soon to My Uncles May Not Approve at blogspot.com. And in there, I talk about a lot of things because the video did definitely have a big effect on me in that it brought me to a lot of places about my feelings and fandom toward Donald Glover / Childish Gambino. The whole conversation about black girls didn't like me because I was a nerd, and now I date white girls, which came after, which I kind of don't want to touch, especially since I already kind of spilt all that blood on the blog. Needless to say, I don't believe in that. Let me just make sure that's clear. And then just, other stuff. Childish Gambino got his start like early as a member of this group called Derek Comedy on YouTube. I feel like his first song was like 2010 with a rapper called MC Chris. Now I know who MC Chris, right? You know who MC Chris is. Most people listening do not know who MC Chris is. He was a nerdcore rapper.
Does he still rap?
He still rap. I haven't listened to his music lately, but I'm sure I might check it out tomorrow because I got Spotify. MC Chris had a really high pitched voice. He was a short, like goofy looking white guy with a really high pitched voice.
I don't know I don't know how MC Chris actually looks, but I have the image of like the old guy from Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
MCP pants.
Yeah.
So no, he doesn't look like that. He's an unassuming, fat, like chubby,
but that's just
short
the image
white guy.
I have in my mind. But you're going down.
I
know Childish, and I've been knowing him.
Let me try to focus.
What is your issue with the video? Why is the video not
my
as
issue
deep
with
as
the
you thought it
video
was?
is that much like I think all of his music, it's not as good as he thinks it is as he's making it.
But see, I don't know. See, you go left.
He's pretentious. He's very pretentious to me.
Sometimes what you fixate on with an artist or just in life is just it's just
I can't argue with you. That's true.
Like, so okay, he may be pretentious.
He's definitely pretentious.
He's definitely had some tweets and had some moments where I'm like, okay, him again. But the video was pretty.
It was
profound.
I know.
The video was pretty, it was a really good art piece. So maybe profound is not the word. But it was a great art piece. So when you say
it was dramatic, but if the theme and the point of the video, which from what I understand and have heard over and over again, is this juxtaposition of the shucking and jiving and dancing of black people, which also could be interpreted as black people maintaining joy and exuberance as the world, exists in this horrible space around them. Mm-hmm. If that's the general theme and story of the video, that is awesome and cool, but it's not that deep. It's not.
So what do you mean? So no, is it? So when you say it's not that deep, like, is it a concept, an idea that has been done and touched and discussed before at length? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still a concept, an idea that has relevancy.
Definitely.
And he created a visual for it that I think, at least in recent time, like we haven't seen. So I know there were some people who drew parallels from, like, who said This Was America reminded them of certain hip hop videos of old that I wasn't familiar with. So I'm not gonna even try to do that.
Fight the Power, maybe comes to mind.
But for now, the video was relevant and it was a really good art piece. Definitely. I don't know, I think I interpret your analysis is really some hate or some kind of issue with Childish Gambino not maintaining the who he was and his the authenticity you think he had when he first came into the game. And that's another conversation that's to be had separate and apart from your analysis of the video.
So that is true, but that also colors. It's just like, in the last Black Ashness podcast, and this is probably a very unfair let me preface this with saying this is an unfair analogy because it's the severity of the person I'm about to mention. But it's kind of like with R. Kelly, how you can't really go back and listen to a lot of his music with the recontextualization that he's generally talking about underage girls.
Yeah, not a good parallel. Music. Not a good parallel.
But the point I'm trying to make is that when you learn about an artist and their works background, you can't help but have that color the actual art. It's gonna affect your perception of it.
So I don't know in his background that he's done anything to separate himself from sorry guys. I don't know if he's done anything to separate himself from the community and done anything to show or say that he doesn't care about the plight of African Americans.
So no, that's not where I'm going with this.
So since he hasn't done those things, I don't know why you then can't accept this art offering from him.
I accept it. I'm just being critical. I'm a critic. I'm just being critical of what I consume. I hope I don't come off as a naysayer because I know I often can be contrarian, but there's plenty of things I'm not contrarian on, so I hope people remember how much I love the Black Panther. We're going to talk about how much I love Atlanta, which you're not as big a fan of. So on and so forth.
No, I like Atlanta. I don't have a problem with Atlanta. But yeah, but I like the video. So my interpretation of the video was I didn't really think about the whole Black Joy thing. I think that's a really interesting interpretation, very fitting interpretation. Mm-hmm. But I saw that things happen, especially in the entertainment industry, that distract us sometimes from the greater issues going on in the world. And we need not to be distracted. So Donald Glover did a piece on Saturday Night Live, which to me is really kind of, I don't even know why it's still on the air. Because for the most part,
Saturday Night Live they give us great stuff once a week.
No, not once a week. So there's lulls of time where we don't get a lot of stuff.
No,
I don't know anybody.
You don't pay attention.
So who watches Saturday Night Live?
Nobody watches it.
Okay, that's what I'm saying.
But every weekend, there's at least one truly great comedy skit that comes from Saturday Night Live.
Okay,
like
whatever.
Space Pants.
I don't know what Space Pants.
It has Tyrion Lannister in Space Pants.
Okay, I think I know what that is. Either way, he did this skit called Kanye's Place. And the skit, which also went viral, was like this group of people, and they really need to be concentrated on being quiet and staying safe from these predators out there in their world, right?
It's based off the movie.
It's based on the movie, A Quiet Place. And instead, they keep seeing Kanye tweet and do all the ridiculous stuff that he did in the week since we've been gone. And they scream and they emote about it. And the moment they emote and they scream about it, they're caught.
Immediately caught.
They're immediately caught and they die. Like they vanish. And so I think this video was a more conscious, more insightful, artful piece. But it had the same vibe, which is a lot happens and we get distracted. Maybe we need those distractions. Maybe that's our way of manifesting joy and keeping sanity in a world that is so crazy and oppressive and depressing. But we are distracted from a lot of the things that we need to be paying attention to. That's the simplest way to put it.
So I actually don't like that message, which is probably why I interpreted it as being more less demonstrative. I hate the black person telling everybody else they're distracted argument, or just like if that's his message, then it really is whack to me. I don't think that's his message, because people aren't distracted like a dog, like a kid that you're hanging keys, you're throwing keys,
gotcha. Keys. I get it that people can concentrate on more than one thing at a time.
And and I think, and I definitely get annoyed when it's like, if you wasn't like, so that is what I try not to believe about them. But as I talk about it, I hope more than I don't believe that this isn't what he was trying to say, which is some really like high Negro on the mountain shit. Like, if y'all Negroes wasn't so busy dancing, you'd get out here and do something about police brutality, which is like, looking at his old stuff recontextualized, I can't put that past him. You know what I'm saying?
So I get it I get how how my interpretation could also be very problematic. I get the Steve Harvey-ness of it all.
Yeah.
Cut your hair, pull your
pants up,
and everything will be okay.
Oh, Steve Harvey.
If you guys weren't doing all the foolery and
you weren't dancing like jigaboos.
There's some Bill Cosby in that too. So I get it, but I think because it was a video for the consumption of not just African Americans, and I've heard some critique about him not having diversity in the video and how that is problematic to. Yeah.
Was it no diverse?
There was no
non-black people.
Like they were saying he should have had a gunman. He shouldn't have always been the gunman. The gunman, like for the choir scene, should have maybe been a white guy, because the fear is that for the masses other folks would interpret it as like some kind of greater narrative on black crime. And I didn't immediately get that, but I can see that
point. That'd have been really on the nose to me.
Yeah. So I can see that, and that may have been why he chose.
But
not
that
to
also
do it.
would have made it so you couldn't have made that interpretation.
Well, so that's true. But my thing is, when I say distracted, so I don't think that he is. I don't think it's just like black folks being distracted. So I think that our entertainment, black culture is pop culture. It is popular culture.
Right.
We set the tone, not just for what's cool in America, but pretty much what's cool worldwide. You know what I'm saying? And so I don't think so, because non-POCs were going to view this video. I think it was, in general, things are created, things happen that distract us allies, the collective, from what we really need to be paying attention to. Like people were, and I was, like people spent hours and they would, from The View, daytime television, to, TMZ, obviously, where he had his biggest breakdown. Like, everybody for a while was talking Kanye. Like, even CNN had people on talking about Kanye. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, the collective was distracted.
Yeah.
And so I think that was what he was trying to maybe say. And everybody gets distracted, and there are some really important things going on. So you may be able to divide your attention, but just make sure that you're properly dividing it, which is another thing, because the video, everybody kept saying there's so many things going on in the background, and I missed it, and I had to watch it twice, and I had to watch it, 3 times. So I heard somebody say 8 times. So to your point about, you hate when people are, like
jingle the keys,
and people, complain that people are distracted. But distraction is really a real thing. It's hard to equally divide your attention.
So there's distraction, and then there's escape or escapism. And escape and escapism is willful. Distraction is because you're too fucking stupid. And I think it's like, we can have a discussion about escapism. I didn't stop watching football this past football season because I required the escape of NFL football to get me through. I look forward to that every year. That is a big part of my life and what keeps me going, day to day, especially in the years past when I had a very difficult job to be a part of. That was me willfully choosing that form of escapism. And so there's some deep conversation about that. Distraction insinuates that I'm too dumb to know that X is going on while Y is going on.
I don't think that's fair, because being distracted is not synonymous with being ignorant. So I can know that things like for example, when we have house chores to do, like I know that there are dirty dishes and, clothes to be washed or whatever the case may be. But I will sometimes start watching random videos on YouTube or Facebook, and before I know it, an hour's passed, or 2 hours have passed. I'm not ignorant of the better ways to spend or use my time, but I got lost in the fuckery of it all.
I don't think you got lost though.
In
like
I think that's a real thing.
I think that's
stupid for that to happen.
Well, so stupid may be harsh, but my point is that you're smart enough to know, even if you're lost in YouTube, when we've all gotten lost in YouTube, you're smart enough to know that you're going to have to make up for this dalliance into YouTube land later or tomorrow when you have to get back to what you're doing.
So to that point, with house chores, I have that option. With house chores, like if I spend my time on my phone doing something that is meaningless and not do house chores, I am smart enough to know that tomorrow or the next day I'll have to deal with the pile up and eventually knock those chores out. Mm-hmm. There are some really serious things going on right there, out there. Some really
the video
dangers
kind of depicts
to our safety and our well-being as people of color. And then on, like, in the political sphere, there are things that are dangerous to our union, regardless of whether or not you're a person of color. And so, like, time is of the essence. Time can cost lives. Time, obviously, definitely costs money. Like, time is not to be wasted. Time is to be used wisely. And so with everything, you can't say, oh, well, I'm smart enough to know that I can do it tomorrow, because that is not always the case.
So that's the conversation, right? Like, that's a conversation, that would have had more admiration from me.
But that's the conversation he's trying to start.
So maybe it is. I thought I interpreted it differently. I looked up, because one thing you said earlier, I think is probably gets to one of the deeper parts of it, which is the mass consumption of blackness and black culture. The line that resonates most with me in the whole thing is towards the end, and it's almost a throwaway line. Like, you don't even really the way the music works and the way the video is shot. It doesn't force you to pay a ton of attention to this line. But it's like right after he's like blocker, and he has a little gun pose. The guy comes in with the refrain, is like, where is it? America, I just checked my following list and you motherfuckers owe me. And to me, that's the following list is talking about the influencer concept. And there is no greater influencer on American culture and American the mindset of America, especially as it pertains to entertainment, than blackness.
Yes.
We've had conversations about this, how I miss the days when music that was more commonly isolated to white, people, was more popular in the mainstream sphere, because to me it provided at least more variety in what music was hot now. Now, Post Malone. Post Malone. That's all I got to say.
No comment.
And so, like, I think that's part of it. I think a mutual friend, pointed out something that I thought was really significant, and I immediately noticed, but I didn't see anybody else talking about it, so I kind of just kept it to myself, which was how the way they were dancing and the way they were dressed mimicked the Ron Clark school. And how, although Ron Clark was very successful, and much respect to his school and how good his school is, that was a clear.
I didn't.
You missed
catch that.
Yeah, a lot of people missed that, and I kind of left that alone, because I'm not gonna throw shit.
Is that I don't know.
I don't think you can. No.
I think that's coincidental.
No,
only because what you see the kids doing at the Ron Clark school, it's just kids
There's
doing
no way
popular dances. It's
There's no way that Childish Gambino, an Atlanta native, put in his video dancing black schoolgirls and boys, and him jamming with them the same way Ron Clark did. Like, no, even the way it's shot is indicative of the Ron Clark viral videos. I'll pull his.
I have to watch it again with that lens. I really don't know what would that mean.
Well, it's not so much that it
on the fact that it's a school that educates predominantly. It's almost all black.
To me, what it is,
the founder is a school head is a white man.
It's basically Gary Owen. What's the name of the white comedian?
Have we silenced Gary Owen? Because I like Gary.
No, we haven't silenced. We haven't silenced Ron Clark. I don't think Ron Clark could get away with that video in 2018 in Trump's America, but like in 2012 when it came out, we was in a good mood. So we didn't think nothing of it. We was like, yeah, get it, black schoolgirls dancing, black magic. But I think Gambino, if he's doing that, I think that was an interesting thing because it's just pointing out, hey, look at how we use blackness to sell and promote, even if it's something positive like education. We
exploit it, and the majority community uses it for gain, but then doesn't do the due diligence to make sure we are protected and respected and valued as people. Definitely. So I like, and I got that. That's why I think it was just a great art piece. And I think the thing about great art pieces is that they have like multiple interpretations. Definitely. Like when you go to an art museum, if the art is curated well, people walk around and talk for hours about what they see and don't see in the same pieces. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's why it was such a great piece, because you can see the Ron Clark School and have a whole conversation about that. I can see the manipulation of black art and maybe black bodies, and how as a collective, not just for people of color, it becomes a distraction. If we're not quick with it, there'll be things going on that we will inevitably miss. Like, there's so many things. So that's why I don't understand why you're hating.
I'm not hating. I can't say that the video itself is in any way anything even mediocre. It's a great thing to have.
So why can't we stop there? Why can't you stop there?
Because that's not what critics do. Because critics don't stop there.
But you don't have a fair critique. It's just how's
my critique unfair? It's not personal. I'm not beefing with Childish Gambino because I have beef with Childish Gambino.
It sounds like it.
No, I'm just interpreting his art through the lens that I have, which is partially clouded or guided by the consumption of his old art and the recognition of the change, and that he went like his first 4 or 5 albums / mixtapes, he was Childish Gambino the rapper, and then because the internet came out, he became Donald Glover presents the character of Childish Gambino the rapper, now funk musician.
So you're talking about a person who's just evolved, not just in their artistry, but just in who they are. Like when he was doing the earlier stuff, like especially when you caught him, he was like a college student, and so now he's a father and a more acclaimed entertainer, for for his acting work and
but we don't want to. I don't want to go into a treatise on his art in isolation of the video too much, especially since the thing I love the most from him to transition right now is Atlanta. I fucking love that show so much. It's dark, but it's not like dark. But see, it's the type of dark because you don't watch This Is Us, and I don't know.
No, I don't want to. Life is enough. I don't want to watch something and cry, because that's all you hear about This Is Us. Like,
I cried so much. It's so sad.
It to me again. It's like I'm happy that all those people who watch it have like these beautiful lives where they just need to cause themselves
they need this
to cry.
Vicarious pain.
Yeah, like they need this. They need
in
this
order
cry.
to maintain.
Like,
which is what that is the
like,
that is the
who
that's
cries?
That's ancient. Is it ancient Greek theater? I don't know if it's ancient, but that's Greek theater 101. Is that the crowd comes to feel something that they don't always feel in their normal lives.
Yeah, well, I don't want to make my life is very joyful.
Right.
But it definitely
it's got enough pain that I don't need pain for entertainment.
Pain, yeah, so I don't need to watch it.
But so although This Is Us and some of these other like super sad shows that have gotten popular, although I don't watch them because they're dark and depressing, Atlanta is my type of dark and depressing. It's a more foreboding it's not a pain I ever like because they depict pain in a way that I never think I'm going to experience. I'm never going to see an albino man shoot himself in the head.
Darn.
You know, just the way things happen there. I'm just happy that
like
show
just
exists.
ridiculous. It was just a really that episode. Don't get me wrong, was captivating. Like I watched it. I was, you know, and I didn't want my time back. But it was just unnecessary. Like literally, you know, we critique Scandal and other shows where we're like, okay, they jumped the shark. Like it now doesn't make sense. And so because because we're watching, like the shows aren't necessarily like standalone. You know what I'm saying? Because we're dealing with the same set of characters, and they're definitely elements from episode to episode that build upon each other. To have him go somewhere and get the friend, I can't think of his name, and get to try to get a piano and end up witnessing a double homicide, I guess, or murder suicide, whatever it is, and then just walk away is so unrealistic.
But here's the thing: it's not jumping the shark if they set that tone from jump. The first episode included Ghost Malcolm X and them probably killing a guy at the end of the episode. So it's like they set the tone early that this is not, you know, this is not Empire. You know what I'm saying? And this season they just they leaned more into that because this season was more omnibus style, meaning that each episode didn't necessarily lead in stream from the last episode. It wasn't a supremely ongoing story. Just in that you saw character growth and change. I think my favorite episode maybe is the one with Paperboy, where he is lost in the woods, and he goes through that crucible in the woods, where he comes out of it and he makes the conscious decision to just be a rapper star guy and get his money. And before then, he was struggling and really depressed with how fake he was being encouraged to become. And so, you know, after, you know, getting and then that, and this is how good the writing is. That character beat there in like episode, maybe I don't know what episode it was, comes back into play in the last two episodes where he basically expresses to Earn, look, I got a certain amount of time, I got a certain amount of money I can make. And if you're not gonna help me get this money, I got to keep it moving. And he talked about crabs in the barrel, and he talked about, you know what I'm saying, and then he kind of came full circle at the end. And I thought that was awesome, especially because this is a show that also included Drake's grandfather being Mexican, and a whole episode about Gudentag. What was the name of the holiday?
The German
holiday
that he celebrated with his girlfriend, his mama. I don't remember. I don't remember the name of it.
It's just you can't. Nobody else has to do that. Well, black people don't get to do that. The
show is definitely interesting. So I guess we've switched roles, so to speak, because while you were critical of the video and his music artistry, the show just ain't that deep to me. Like it's not like I don't want my time back because I watched stuff and been like, why did I watch this? You know, like I don't feel that way. I felt good about completing the season, but it's not even a show that like I don't feel apt to like, okay, I want to be involved in a discussion about it. You know, like it doesn't, like there are shows that we like talk about for days after each episode. Mm-hmm. I just consumed it. It was like eating a good meal at an okay restaurant, never intending to go back. You know, like I watched it and I was like, okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. You know, I wasn't like,
you're ready to change the subject.
Yeah, it was just kind of like, okay.
You're more than happy to welcome, I don't know, Luke Cage in a couple of days.
Yeah, like I don't get any depth or great complexity from his shows. The writing is not bad.
Yeah,
I'm not
I don't think
impressed.
he's saying anything so profound in some of his weirdness and the darkness of it. Like I don't think there's a lot more, for me at least, that's profound to learn about the black experience.
And I guess too. So I don't know. I'm thinking that maybe to my Atlanta experience and the grittiness of the show, like they don't, obviously they're juxtaposed to each other, right? Atlanta is not a gritty, grimy.
You've never even really spent time in Decatur,
place.
Huh? Like
but
have you
that's
been
the
to Decatur
other thing.
for me? Like
That's
for school
the other thing.
Times?
Like the show is shot in much of it in Atlanta proper. Like we look at it and we see landmarks and things, some of which not too far from our home. And, because Atlanta, like so many other major cities, is being gentrified, like, at rapid speed. Like, this grittiness and, like, seediness that they try to depict is really inauthentic to what the city is now. And so maybe that causes
but see, it's only inauthentic to us because we don't travel in those circles. But it doesn't feel inauthentic at all to me.
I mean, it's hood happening. I mean, I know that, I know that these storylines exist in some form in some places of the city. It's just so far removed from my experience. I'm wondering if that affects me and the impact the show has on me.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think that's it. I think it's just not your cup of tea as much as it is mine.
Not bad, but it's just not.
Yeah, because you don't need Atlanta to be. Atlanta's inauthentic in general. Like it's very meta, and how like the show is authentically inauthentic, but Atlanta's authentically inauthentic.
True.
Atlanta's the words I was trying to say. So I enjoyed it more than you, but if you haven't checked it out, please check it out. We didn't spoil anything because it's not a show that you could really spoil, but it's all out on Netflix. Go ahead, check it out. We want to move on so we can touch on a couple more things before we get to the highly anticipated return of the shady moment in history, of course.
Gosh.
So speaking of shady moments, it always seems like the biggest things happen when or the most trending whatever things happen when we end up taking a quick break, which is the hashtag existing while black, which was spurred on first. I think the first thing was the Starbucks guys, and then as is typical, multiple stories of a similar ilk.
I saw today. Did you see the video of the guy who had purchased a property to flip?
Yeah.
And he went to his property for inspection purposes.
And the woman called the police.
And the neighbor called the police on him. And was
straight up harassing him, though. Like, was not.
And started yelling at the police eventually.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
It was crazy.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, like that. I think the most popular one is the Oakland barbecue and the woman who had the psychotic episode, essentially.
It was ridiculous. It was just ridiculous. The fact that she ran away. So first of all, I was happy that only a white woman could film that.
Yeah.
Like only a white woman could film it, because it would have went very different, even though her behavior was erratic and, in my opinion, signified some real mental health issues, some glaring mental health issues. I think if a person of color would have filmed it, like, there was things that were left out, or, I think there would have been some white folks who would have bothered to argue in her defense. I haven't seen not one argument in her defense, because her behavior was that ridiculous. First of all, to call the police on anybody doing something that is not presenting an immediate danger, even if you think like it's against the rules. I don't know, somebody changed lanes without using their signal, like, you know what I'm saying, like, even if it is against the rules or against the law or something like that, like, it was not presenting a threat to anybody, and to wait 2 hours,
3 altogether. She took 3 hours out of her life for this, and to come to find out, she's a rocket scientist, supposedly. So she probably had something else more important to do. Like the semester ain't over. She has a PhD from Stanford, and she's some type of biochemical engineer. That'll tell you about, quote unquote white allies and how we in the situation we are now. Because there are some white allies out there. Shout out to the white allies, like the woman who videotapes it. But this is a woman who's a gentrifier because she's in Oakland, and Oakland is gentrifying just like a lot of black cities, for better and worse, around the country. And she just had time, and she was going to use her time to be agitative to the original denizens who she probably just didn't fuck with and wanted to go away.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
And fuck her for that. And I'm looking forward to, because all the other folks,
show she put on.
Yeah, the show
she put on
and the
after
memes she's
to
given
say
us.
she was attacked and like break down and crying and slump over. Like it was just ridiculous. It was like, okay. Like, is this really real? So, I mean, I think it was so ridiculous that really nobody could come to her defense. The memes are hilarious.
Delicious.
The memes. What is it? Why? So, at what point did Karen become the, like, we have moved away from Becky? Like, Becky used to be the white girl.
We moved away from Becky
name, and now it's Karen.
No. Here's what it is. Becky is a white woman of a younger age who is sexually. Becky is sexualized. I don't know.
Gotcha. No, I get it.
And Karen is an older white woman who's just annoying.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Thank you for pointing out that distinction.
Yeah, because
most of her memes are associated with like Karen.
Karen calling the police on Wakanda.
Yeah.
And so now they like just a quick love of memes. So we started with that meme of her calling at random time the marches, the black dudes at the podium for the Olympics, just all these places. Then it was flipped. So we went to tier 2. So we have tiers of memes. It starts out as a normal meme, and it goes dank if it gets viral. I think that's what they call it.
Okay.
Then it went to tier 2 when it had its first derivative, which was, it went back to the black dude who was like I think he was he was like a black Republican guy in St. Louis or wherever that was, after Michael Brown. The black guy on the phone.
Yeah.
He had that snitch nigga house Negro look to him. And so they put him calling the police on like friends and like white guys in the mosh pit. Yes.
Okay.
So then it went to tier 3, and I just posted this one. It was a picture of like Pilgrim settlers.
I saw that.
And a Native American on the phone. And it's just so good. This is
those
escapism.
are kind of dark to me because like ain't nobody gonna come.
Ain't nobody gonna come for it. Yeah. Only people.
See, like Karen could actually call the police, and the police will actually come, and the police may actually, even if Karen's in the wrong, do something.
They ain't coming for the Native Americans and the Pilgrims.
They didn't come.
But that's going back to the point. That's an example of the the escapism.
Came for the Native Americans.
And it also brings and it's also an example of the appropriate type of when it's appropriate to drag as a strategy. Because bringing it all full circle, going back to what we started to stumble upon, which is this random white girls, This Is America spoof. That shit went viral overnight. Mostly because of, well, maybe not mostly, but I think greatly because of black people. Because we all shared that shit. Like, look at this horrible shit. And my general response to that is, why? Why would I look at this? I guarantee we added millions of views
look at it.
And money to this woman's pockets.
I don't like the personality behind it.
Yeah,
I don't,
because this is not her first time. She's a known agitator.
Yeah.
Where she will say and do inflammatory.
She'll do anything for hits or likes or views or whatever the case may be.
Giving them to her. We keep doing.
She was on
The View last time she did this shit.
I don't know. So I'm happy to say that no one in my timeline shared it. I didn't view it.
Yeah, I had so many people in my timeline sharing it, and the people who's like who I like
you
still
flat
respect
earthers
them.
in your timeline.
Oh, baby, come on now.
I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it, but I'm just going to say that, you need to check your friends.
I need to do some stuff with my circle.
Yeah.
My circle was
Like
real tight. Like, I was real proud of my circle post-Trump, pre-Trump, because I felt like, shit was cool. But I think Trump has just sent a couple of my people over the edge, and now they're flat earthers, and
they're in a dark place.
Yeah,
which is why they're sharing her whack ass videos.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so the whole existing while black thing is troubling. We have black sons. We've talked about this before. I'm a black man. I'm lucky enough that I don't have too many, obvious racial profiling events. I did have a black Monte Carlo that got me pulled over like 5-6 times. Once upon a time, and I've definitely felt profiled, but I haven't had to interact with the police because I was in a space where white people felt threatened by my presence. But shit, the shit is still there.
There's really nothing to say about it except it's ridiculous.
Is it?
It needs to stop.
Is it ignorant to say it's progress from a couple of years ago when it was black men getting shot by the police? So now it's just getting harassed.
Ignorant. That's very ignorant.
Is it just like, oh, this is progress?
No, it's very ignorant because those things were happening concurrently. Yeah. What is good is now we are seeing it, and people. So the beauty, the power, the way social media can be used and cultivated for the good of our collective
of progress
is. People don't want to be shamed. They don't want to be dragged. They don't want to be mean.
Unless they do.
They don't want to be the butt of the joke. Unless they do, but very few people want that or welcome that. And so because now we can film it and we can broadcast it and we can get it live, we may not be able to bring people to justice, all the cops everywhere who have done all the things that we know they have done and not gotten punished for. But we can, especially when it comes to civilians, we can drag you.
Right.
We can drag you, and there's no time limit. Like, we will drag you. We may take a reprieve, we may take a moment, and then we will drag you more.
And we can make you think twice. And there's, I don't know the trends because we never really had data.
Make people think twice.
But there's like the one, I saw something this morning that it was messed up, of course, but it made me like, for a moment, I was like, oh man, that was awfully refreshing. It was a video of multiple white police officers, but at least 3 or 4 of them, trying to subdue a relatively large black man. I think it was in Wisconsin. And it's very clear that this man is having a mental episode. He's having an episode. He is screaming that, I think it said his name was Darius, and he's just screaming, I am Darius, and he's sweating. And he's freaking out. He's freaking out. And like the video starts, from what I've seen, of him straight decking one of the police officers and just like sending him to the ground. Like he's fighting these dudes off like it's an action movie. And they look, that's not a good look for them as police officers. And I'm sure there's probably going to be some, masculine yada, yada, yada about them getting beat up by this one guy for a second. But in general, they did their job as it's supposed to be done. They subdued him with pepper spray and, physical violence or whatever. What they didn't do is they didn't shoot the dude. And like this video, almost every other time this video happens, the kid is getting shot and getting killed. And then, of course, there's the march. There's outrage, the march, and the inevitable acquittal of the police officers. And so, although this is awful, and this kind of speaks to right
to the point,
shut up. So it's awful that I saw that, and my first response was, "Oh, okay, progress," because it's still fucked up. Because like the dude's having a mental health episode. He didn't need the police. He needed fucking somebody, a loved one, to come and chill him out. Oh man,
he survived.
And help beforehand. But like I was like, oh, he survived. So
it's very sad because not now, like literally when I see African Americans, specifically African American men, pulled over by the police when I'm like just driving, down the
Mm-hmm.
street or whatever. Like I literally, slow up and, say a prayer and observe, so I can, if ever question, say, I remember where he was standing and know he wasn't doing, like, it's just really a sad state of affairs, but it's not new. And so the only positive thing is accountability.
On some level.
Especially when it comes to civilians behaving badly. We still have not perfected the issues when it comes to the police.
Right.
And I don't know when that's
your police system
work out.
evolves
that's
from
just,
slave catching, you're always going to have some problems.
Just some problematic standards,
So,
legal standards.
Speaking of historical police
for
action,
citizens, we can do better.
let's get to today's shady moment in history.
Oh gosh.
I'm
tired. I don't know if y'all have heard me yawn. I apologize, y'all. But, I really am tired. I'm a working mother of two. And for you to make me listen to the shady moment of history.
Today in history on May 15th, former governor and then presidential candidate George Wallace was shot and paralyzed by one Arthur Bremer. So George Wallace was he was the Donald Trump of his time. He ran on a segregationist platform in Alabama. You may remember the images of him standing in front of the Little Rock High School, or maybe it was University of Arkansas, fighting against the forced segregation of the college. They had to send in, is it Forrest Gump? That's the image I'm looking at. Is in Forrest Gump. They had to send in the National Guard to protect these black students. And here he was on the other side, championing white, purity,
so why is this
the
shady moment of history? Because he shot? And
No. It's just a moment of shade. Like, this is a good shade. He got shot and paralyzed while he was running for president.
This is so struggle.
Why can't you just go with it? I want to talk about history on our show sometimes. I want to talk about interesting moments in history.
But let's talk about relevant history.
No.
Like, I'm sure somebody was born on this day, like however many years ago. And somebody died, and somebody bought a house, and somebody graduated, but none of that shit is relevant because those somebodies didn't do anything of quality or anything of note that we need to celebrate. Like, why are we bringing up this man's name?
Of other interest is the shooter, Arthur Brenner, who initially, as I was reading, I said maybe he was just like a super zealous, at that time Republican who hated the idea of segregationists running for president. Turns out he was not. He was a classic crazed shooter. He was actually, so you remember the movie Taxi Driver? Mm-hmm. With Robert De Niro. He was a crazed taxi driver. He tried to kill a senator. That movie was based loosely on this guy and his writings. This guy was your typical loner, loser, white guy that decided I wanted to do something that would make me infamous. And he was either going to try to kill Richard Nixon or George Wallace. He didn't actually kill him. He paralyzed him.
I hope you feel good about yourself.
I mean, I don't.
I don't. After these shady moments in history, I want you to stop and be like, okay, what? Like, why did I get? Like, what? How is doing this making the world better?
You have not failed.
Like, what purpose did I serve?
So you have not failed to make me feel awful after each and every one of them.
Like I said, your fixation on it's just mind-boggling.
I just like talking about history.
Like, why would that stand out? Like, we can talk about history. I can.
You pick it. Next show, we're going to get the first ever shady moment in history picked by AJ. Since you just got all the good, cool stories from history, you go through and find
probably just be me being shady.
Just fine.
But I just, yeah.
Let's go get,
No, I don't know.
I can't wait.
Yeah,
Tune in 2 weeks from now.
We may have to switch it up.
Miss AJ Blurtman.
How about we make it the shady pop moment of history? In history, or the shady. We don't talk much. Like, we talk pop culture, but we.
Anyway, that is it for us tonight, y'all. This might be the earliest we've ended a show. It's partially because the boys spent the last 3 hours running around in a 400-meter circle, so that helps to get them in bed.
We'll fill you guys in on that
next show. With that said, again, check us out at Black Astronauts Podcast. The network is still doing big things. We're going stronger than we have in a while. We appreciate the support, and we hope it keeps coming. Check out the website for blackastronauts.com for my blog regarding Childish Gambino. I focus more on the controversy that came out about how Donald Glover is with a half Asian woman, I believe, or half white, half Asian. I don't know the full story.
I don't know.
And whether or not, you can be pro-black and not with a black person, which I think we may have talked about.
We could have talked about that.
That part hurts more. I didn't want to come. I don't know. We just may miss the boat. We'll get somebody that dates a white woman will pop up in the news before the next show, and we'll jump back on it. So I think that's pretty much it. You can find us at Black Astronauts. You can email us at blackastronauts@gmail.com or at Married to Shade. And check us out on Twitter, at Fiq Blurman. And the Married to Shade Twitter is active, but we don't really tweet with that. I'm sorry.
Start that up.
No, we're not. You keep going out and getting these bags for the household, and I'm gonna keep doing mine. And we ain't got time for the when the Patreon becomes tens of $1,000s a month, and we can get off this remedial money situation. Then we will tweet. I will tweet out the ass, just all kinds of twits.
What in the world?
Joke of the show,
y'all.
Then with that, we are clearly tired. So, baby, I love you.
Love you too. Bye, y'all.
Peace.